Embark on your journey, the path you must take. Though hate may surround you, it's not your fate to forsake. Co-creating your destiny in the dance of time. The guiding light within you ignites the sublime. It is the light, the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light, shining bright, unlocking potential beyond belief, taking flight. In the depths of your being, the truth resides. Embrace your power, let your spirit rise. With every step forward, you transcend the expanded conscious community we commend. Through trials and triumphs, your soul evolves in the symphony of life, where every note resolves. Listen to the whispers of your inner voice. In unity and love, let your heart rejoice. It is the light, the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light, shining bright, unlocking potential beyond belief, taking flight. It is the light, the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light, shining bright, unlocking potential beyond belief, taking flight. As we gather together in this sacred space, embracing transformation with grace. Life coach Malachi leads the way in unlocking potential day by day. Embracing transformation with grace. Life coach Malachi leads the way, unlocking potential day by day.
Hey, how's everyone doing this evening? We just get right to the show, go right to it. You know, I have, of course, my little intro. Sometimes I play it, sometimes I don't. I usually will close with it, but I'm always here at 8:30 if you want to know. We can get 5, 10, 15, 20 people that come out live, and I appreciate you for coming out. For those who come out live to be here in this community, you know, this February the 20th is the first show that I had worked with Bishop Pearson, and come February is the time that I started this channel, this weekly podcast. And over the last now 2 years, the only days that I have missed are the days that I usually would pre-record. or pre-record something so that we could actually still have something. My plan is to continue. There are some days that make you wonder as you keep doing it and going, and I know I can do some of my job better in announcing and getting it out and making sure people remember that I'm going to be live. Heck, I even need to remind people in the Patreon community. And it's part of growth, it's part of the challenge, it's part of life, it's part of living. Anybody out there, have you ever been challenged with something? Have you ever had to swallow? No, that's a joke. That's a joke. Pause. No, did he? I'm just here though. I'm here and I'm going to do it. And, one thing I do know is that it doesn't take much on Patreon. I mean, on Insight Timer. Those people are really, they're there, ready, happy, ready for change, ready for movement. Not that people on here isn't. It's just one thing for sure is YouTube and Facebook have a way of announcing and letting everyone know what's going on, that this is happening, and then being in the but anyways, we are here. Give quick shout outs. Thank you, Miss Lynn. You're awesome, Brother Rob. Yes, most definitely. Mother Gwen. And it's all Miss Oshara. Yes. Thank you so much. I don't even know what that comment is. It's an interesting time. Wouldn't y'all say? It's a real interesting time to be alive. I'm pretty sure every moment in history, there are interesting moments, right? And I think, this is a moment of expansion of our awareness and of our consciousness. And that we can have an opportunity to make some decisions, right? The biggest thing you have to do in order to move forward in your life is you have to decide. And when I say decide, you got to decide and you got to make some hardcore decisions. And that means am I going to be myself? Am I going to stand up for myself? Am I looking to be authentic with who I am? How do I be authentic? It's kind of hard to be authentic in an era where a lot of performative nature or performing is a thing, right? It's a thing to perform. It's a thing to look a certain way, be a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way. Sometimes we need the decorum. Now, don't get it twisted. We could see now with a lot of our politicians and things of that nature that they feel that they can do what they want, how they want, when they want, where they want. And you see how far that's taken us. And really, we're at a point and a moment, and I would like to really get into this because we're at a moment and at a point in life that we can all begin to question our realities. You should question your reality, but not only that, you should understand that you are also a author or co-author of your reality. You can shift certain aspects of who you are, shift certain aspects of what you desire and bring that into fruition. One of the things that I would like to talk about, because it's been really, really on top of it's been really on top of my mind in terms of what you believe, why you believe it, and how do those beliefs add to or subtract to the quality of your life. That's something that Bishop used to say quite often is, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? And how do those beliefs add to or subtract to the quality of your life? A lot of times we don't know or we don't understand that we decide what we believe. We decide what we believe about us, what we believe about the world. Anybody agree with that? And if you don't, too bad. Because the thing is it is what it is. We decide what we believe. I'm going to see if I can find, there's a couple of videos that I want to start this with. There was one video with Dan McClellan. If you don't know who that is, he is a biblical scholar that is actually active online. He, as a biblical scholar, he will tell it from a data standpoint of what it is and what the scholars may have said. And there may be some things that he may not agree with, or some things that he may not fully follow, but the data is the data, as he says, data over dogma. And someone didn't really approach him, but someone had said something about following true Christianity. And it made me think about Bishop Carlton Pearson when he wrote a book, God is Not a Christian, nor a Jew, Muslim, Hindu. God dwells with us, in us, around us, as us. Wow. Is that too much for a person to hear? Even if a person does not necessarily believe in a singular monolithic God and this entity that is out there moving and controlling, and even if you don't believe that, pretty much atheist or atheist, it's kind of like, it's a little bit easier to me for them to accept the fact that a person says, well, it's not one particular group. In this statement, it's not even a particular thing. In his statement, he says it dwells with us, in us, around us, as us. Personally, I agree with that. I don't need to have a superhero that is almighty, that gets to be not even grand wizard, that gets to be like a superhero. That's the mindset, and the things that we have in our minds is we have a kind of a superhero mindset on what power is, right? And that power usually has the ability to do certain things. God of the Bible and even other books, but it has a certain power, and it says he, but it has a certain power, and this power is beyond our minds, is beyond what we believe, and it actually has the ability to do things and through the course of time and history to create a world and then leave people who are designed to let us, lead us, guide us, the gurus. One of the things that has stuck with me is how much we don't, as a people, especially here in America, how much as a people we don't know anything about. More people know about the Bible, King James, and its stories than they even can recollect or have any understanding of Christian history. Growing up, I can tell you, I never, ever, 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 ever came across anything to do with Christian history, the history of Christianity. We understand Catholicism as in like one of the movements. We understand Judaism, but you don't learn essentially in America about the totality of how we got here. How do we get 2.5 billion, become the largest organization, or not even organization, an entity, right? Because it's an organization of organizations. If you would go back to any of those people that were from the Apostle Paul, some of the writers of those other books, we don't even know a lot of the writers. We speculate. And theologians that are deep study in scholars, let's say more scholars than just theologians, because you could be a theologian and not necessarily be a scholar. They're okay with understanding that it is believed that X person wrote it versus this person wrote it, and not necessarily discussing that. Most scholars understand that the document Q was a part of the synoptic gospels or the reference to the synoptics, right? So there's all kinds of history. There's all kinds of depth when it comes to understanding or connecting to what you already believe. You believe what you believe. Just for the most part, you've been told what to believe. And if you don't believe what you've been told, there are consequences. How many people seen the video of the maybe 30-year-old black gentleman holding up a sign with all kinds of rhetoric that is tied to a lot of historical arguments on using the story of Jesus and the Bible? And the monks were in there walking. He's there to confront the monks and tell them that they need to turn to he doesn't get this, but turn to his Jesus, turn to his understanding, because his understanding for him is the understanding. Now, he probably has a whole bunch of other people he follows, and that gives him his agency to say here, but he's carrying on with the rhetoric to believe to be true based on what he's been told. And a lot of times it's related to a lot of trauma. Now more than ever, who gets to decide? Who gets to decide? Because there's no official, and there can't ever be an official. And if there ever is an official, you just created another entity, another check mark, another 45,000, 50,000 denomination, another denomination on the books. I've been taking inventory. Have you been taking inventory? I've been taking inventory on my life. And there's so much that drives me away from even claiming that I'm a Christian. There's a lot that can drive you away from that belief, and not even that belief, but people's version of that belief. I'll come to the conclusion that we need to stop trying to be Christians and get an understanding on who Jesus was. Yeshua. Can we, oh, sorry. I'm sitting here talking and realize that I'm like, the numbers are low and Facebook was having a issue. And I'm like, Facebook didn't come online. So now Facebook is online. Welcome, Facebook. StreamYard was having a problem. It wasn't putting Facebook online. If you didn't see the beginning, then you can watch it in replay. But anyways, confronting the monks. Oh, we're talking, I was referring to and talking about Christianity and who gets to be the official, who gets to be the official word, who gets to be the official person, we've always, the Catholic Church was the official, right? They kind of set the standard even before, essentially the early church was quite a bit different. I'm not going to go too deep into that. I've been doing some study on the early church and the early people. And when I say the early church, I'm thinking more of there's some mysticism involved, a lot of mysticism, the divine being within, right? I think we haven't been ready as humanity is as it is. We haven't been ready to have this conversation. Bishop Carlton Pearson was a trailblazer in his space, in his category. There's been people talking and saying similar things to Bishop Carlton Pearson when it comes to his, first he had you got to follow this. First he had gospel of inclusion. You remember that? And then it went from gospel of inclusion, right? That I'm including everybody into the gospel, including everybody into this Christian faith, which you could do if you decide. There's 50,000 denominations. You could do that if you decide. But he moved from that. And I don't know if we got it. He moved from just inclusion to God is not a Christian, nor Jew, Muslim, or Hindu. And he didn't leave it there. He said it dwells with us. Tell me if this ain't consciousness. It dwells with us. It dwells in us, right? Around us. I almost would say with us and around us is even two different things. And as us. That, my friends, is a bold, beautiful, amazing, transcending statement. See, there's a lot of spiritual, metaphysical teachings that are out there. And a lot of times we have the teachings, but we don't have the adaptation to actually implement it in our lives. We still go back and turn back to the old ways of doing things. But now, with the beauty and the pain that we're experiencing in the shift of reality, especially in our country, but throughout the world, we're seeing and being able to witness a version of Christianity that people don't necessarily agree with, have to agree with, and those who do agree with it are being questioned whether they believe in it. And some of the ones that don't fully understand or get it, the ones that would be more, going back to what I was talking about, being ignorant of the fact that we don't understand a lot about biblical Christian not biblical, Christian history. We talk about biblical history, you don't even understand that. Dealing with the books upon books, the documents upon documents. We don't even handle that well, let alone just looking at the history of what happened what happened from Rome and from the era and time of Jesus, from the era and time of Jesus, all the way up until Constantine and the Council of Nicaea, and them formulating the King James Version. I'd have to ask one of my AIs to see how long was it between the death of Jesus and then Apostle Paul comes along, who never met Jesus, who just basically had an experience, and he was the smart person and wrote the books, and he was a writer. He could read multiple languages. You got to think most of those people couldn't read. I mean, they couldn't read and write. They would actually have stories and talk stories and back and forth, and didn't mean that the people were even dumb. It's just certain people like Paul were brilliant. They were almost like the scientists of the day, able to take text and use these texts and communicate, write. So of course they were seen as something that were prolific. And I don't think, and I don't even shame Paul for what we see today, because I still think that individual may possibly look at today and be like, you guys, you got this language that is revolutionary, English, and everybody knows it. You've become gods. Like, you literally have become gods. You're doing more godlike stuff than we could imagine. They wouldn't even be able to fully relate. So we have taken on certain aspects as a people, and we've used it for our benefits and used it for the benefit against other people. And this has been going on for, there has been problems with this. If you look at the scriptures, there's been problems with it since Jesus died. Different accounts of different people saying different things, and they try to make it where it's like, oh, it all says the same. And okay, we'll let you be. Check this out. This is really cool. I want you to see this. This is a cool thing that Dan McClellan has. I think this is good for us. Listen to this.
Of who gets to call themselves a Christian.
Oh.
Hey, everybody, who is in charge of who gets to call themselves a Christian?
All right, let's check it out.
All right, let's see it.
The answer is nobody. There is no person or group of people on the planet who are in charge of who gets to call themselves a Christian.
So yes and no.
Just yes.
For one, anyone can call themselves a Christian. Nobody can stop someone from doing that. And secondly, when it comes down to it, you don't know anyone's heart, right? So you can't actually know if anyone is truly a Christian or not. They could be completely lying. But there is another category of people. These are people that call themselves Christians and yet reject core Christian doctrine.
So the catastrophic flaw in this claim is the fact that there is no such thing as core Christian doctrine that is authoritative for all Christians. Because as I pointed out in my video, there is no person and there is no combination of people that gets to speak authoritatively for all Christians. The best you can do is find a group of people who agree to be subject to your authority, and then you can speak authoritatively on behalf of that group. And there is no person and no combination of people to whose authority all Christians have agreed to be subjected. So you cannot establish authoritatively core Christian doctrines for all Christians. You cannot even point to anything in the Bible that is identifiable as core Christian doctrine. Even if you could, it would be open to interpretation, meaning there would be people who disagreed, and you have absolutely no authority over their ability to identify as Christian. You're just doing precisely what I said in that video. That is speaking on behalf of the people who agree with you. And that is not speaking authoritatively on behalf of all Christians.
You see, the early church, they did us a huge favor, and they laid out in creeds core Christian doctrines. So if you call yourself a Christian and yet reject something from the Nicene Creed, you are not a Christian. It doesn't matter how much you say that you are. You reject core beliefs about Christianity.
So all this claim is doing is pointing to the agreement that this group of Christians has agreed will be authoritative for that group. It has absolutely no authority whatsoever beyond that group of people. It used to, because it was supplemented by imperial authority, and so force could extend the boundaries of that authority beyond the group that agreed, but it still didn't cover all Christianity. So as
what did y'all hear that? Did you hear that? What was it that made this guy is referring to the Nicene Creed in the Council of Nicaea, Rome, the same people that killed Jesus, and he's referring to them or this document that basically formulated Catholicism and says it was imperial. Here's what I want you to here's what I want you to hear, and I want you to feel, because we're gonna get deep into this, right? I want you to feel this. Christian nationalism wants to use imperialism. Other people that have other, just like the guy that was out there with the signs with the Buddhist are walking, he wanted to use some level of force to say, and then he wants to say, I love you. He's heard that from somebody. He's heard it where they say, I love you so much that I got to tell you, you need to do what I tell you to do. What? Of course, he didn't say that. He said, you got to follow Jesus and Jesus is the way and blah, blah, blah. But he's basically saying, do what I. So what else? There's somebody else that might say that. But yet, though, they have some other funny stuff going on. But anyways, imperial, it was basically power. Like, you could not deny it. Jesus died, essentially, Yeshua. He died because of the fact that he was speaking out and against, and it is noted that he wasn't really trying to broadcast this and be like, come against them and be radical. He wasn't trying to be radical and say, yes, I'm standing up to these people. He was actually not trying to be radical. He's like wanting to do little healings and wanting to let people know, but render under Caesar's what's Caesar's. You know what I mean? Y'all do what y'all do. I ain't trying to go around coming against you like that. I'm just telling you this, right? These people that you have to really, a person has to really get into it to really, because there's so many other stories that we get when it comes to this. But let's listen to the rest of this.
As I pointed out in this video, all you can do is say, this is our brand of Christianity. We don't like that other brand of Christianity. Therefore, we are going to declare for the group that agrees that that other group over there doesn't get to be Christian. But again, there is no person, there is no combination of people that speaks authoritatively for all Christianity. This is not a difficult concept to grasp. You do not have authority over anyone else's identity as a Christian. You cannot like that all you want. It is demonstrable fact.
Theoretically, Jesus would be able to make that determination, but We can't seem to get a hold of him.
Well, I got good news. He's going to come back and judge the living and the dead, and he is the one who gets to decide who truly is a follower of him and who is not.
So if it's Jesus's prerogative, why did you just presume to declare who is and is not truly a Christian?
So I guess there is somebody in charge after all.
Yes, that's what I pointed out in the video. Jesus would be the one person who would have that authority.
The reality is that people pretend they get to declare who is and isn't a Christian because they're trying to speak on behalf of their own group. My group doesn't like your group. Therefore, I don't want you to be able to call yourself a Christian. That's really all that's going on here.
Now, Dan is right here. I do see groups within Christianity doing this, where a Protestant or a Catholic will try to tell an Eastern Orthodox or whatever that they're not Christian because they don't belong to their group in Christianity. That needs to stop.
You are free to stop at any time.
We all hold to the same credo doctrinal beliefs about who God is.
No.
Well, except for those Christians who do not hold to those creedal doctrinal beliefs. Because what you're doing here is just trying to establish a necessary and sufficient feature for Christianity. It is necessary for inclusion. It is sufficient for exclusion. You're just offering an argument, and whoever agrees with you is right. Whoever disagrees with you is wrong, not because you have any authority to render them right or wrong, but because this is all about seeing who you can get to agree with you. But here's the thing. Authority is really just about consensus, unless it's about coercion. And you have neither the coercive power nor the consensus beyond the people who agree with you. So you only speak for people who already agree with you. For the folks who don't agree with you, you have no authority over what is the essentializing, necessary, and sufficient feature of Christianity. You have no way to establish that beyond that consensus. So once again, your ability to define Christianity or declare where the boundaries of Christianity are extends no further than the people who agree with you.
Just because there's some disagreements doesn't mean they're not Christians. But that's not all that's going on here.
When people say that Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or anybody who sincerely identifies as a Christian isn't a real Christian, really all they're saying is that's a Christian I don't like.
No, that's not what's going on. Both Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses reject core doctrines of Christianity, namely the triunity of God and who Jesus is.
Bro.
And so while nobody is in charge and nobody can dictate whether or not someone calls themselves a Christian, someone calls themselves a Christian,
Jesus wouldn't even,
and then openly rejects core Christian beliefs, they out themselves as not being Christians.
No, they just disagree with you regarding something that you think ought to be the necessary and sufficient feature of Christianity, but have no authority to establish as the necessary and sufficient feature of Christianity beyond the power of your own assertiveness and beyond that group of people that already agrees with you. You are reifying precisely what I pointed out. You don't like that group. You don't think they should be able to be Christians. Unfortunately, you are not Jesus. You do not have the authority to declare for anyone other than those who agree with you, whether or not they are Christians.
And it's not about not liking them. We want to see them come to Christ.
Which is just a way of acknowledging that's a Christian you don't like without having to acknowledge that that's a Christian you don't like. Because what I'm saying you don't like is their Christian identity, because it's a identity you don't think ought to qualify as Christian. But you're just trying to pull the love the sinner, hate the sin rhetorical prophylaxis for hating the sinner, because you're talking about the individual independence of their Christian identity. You want to disentangle the two and say, ooh, love to see that individual come to Christ. What I don't like is that particular Christian identity. And I'm addressing the individual as that Christian identity. That's what you don't like. And you are acknowledging that you don't like that. You just don't want to acknowledge that you don't like that because you cannot seem to think critically about this. All you seem to be able to do is just burp up the same sophomoric naive platitudes that Christians use to convince each other that they know what they're talking about. You do not have the first clue what you're talking about. And the fit for this video.
Data over dogma. You do not have a clue what you're talking about. And my thing is, like, whether you say he has a clue or not, that's not what I wanted you to get. What I wanted you to get more than anything is to understand that we're at a time where we can openly have these conversations broadly. We're at a time that we can begin to really develop who we are and expand our consciousness and our awareness. They both referred to saying only person that gets to say who's a Christian or not is Jesus. Jesus wouldn't call anyone that. He never said that. Other people said that. And I don't even think they necessarily said that particularly because it's translated into English. Of course, it was some other, thing, as like just like you would have Yeshua, right? And it could have been Christ. But it's 2,500-year-old story that has just, it's both has been kind of a story that a lot of people have recognized within something within this, and they have really tuned into it and they love it. And at the same time, people have used it and it has plagued us. Essentially, where we are going is how to brand God. When I think about Bishop Carlton, one of the things that he left the system, the organized institution. He still wanted to have some level of organization for community, but he left that institution not necessarily by his own. People left him. He wanted to just continue, and he was just like, I found out some information. I found that this is what I feel, and I believe this is where we will go or need to be. And the people weren't ready. People were way different. It's funny because it's like a little over 20 years ago when I just first moved to Tulsa to go to Oral Roberts. It was, for the church people, it was pretty radical. And the people that got to call him a heretic mostly were the African American College of Bishops. So that was the group, that was the community, that was the individuals that all come together to agree that his level of branding was against God, but ultimately it was not going to help their system. It's amazing as you see capitalism, which is branding, which is a flag and a party, and all these things that identify. Who told you that if you did not say the right prayer, if you didn't do it in the right building under the right label, then all of a sudden you're barking up the wrong tree? You're messing with the wrong entity, right? You're messing with something that is not really of my belief of what I believe it is. So therefore I get to call you out. Okay. It's a really tough thing. Although it's more open that we talk about things like God and Jesus and America, and how Bishop in 2006, I think, maybe he wrote, God is not a Christian, Jew, Muslim, Hindu, but he dwells in us, with us, around us, and as us. See, in a time where America is shouting out about God and Christianity and its spiritual values, I just felt that we need to slow the noise down and ask a simple question. And that is, ask a question, but also answer the question. Is that, what is the official version, and why is there an official version? Who gets to make the official version? We have people that are leaving churches fast and hard. They want to try to tell you that it's growing. The only thing, and it's not necessarily growing. A lot of people are being afraid and scared and pushed into Christian nationalism because you're pushed to make a choice. And a lot of those people are not necessarily minorities that are jumping into these organizations. I was watching a video the other day about the former or late executor of a church that was the Grand Wizard of the KKK. And he got rid of the Grand Wizard, got rid of all that. And a lot of the systems now, when it comes to a hate group like the KKK, they are formulating themselves within church organizations and using that as a way to get members and for people to believe their rhetoric. So nobody gets to police your relationship with you. When you allow someone to police the relationship with yourself versus allow you to enlighten yourself through love with the divine. And when I say the divine, I'm talking about something that's beyond belief, but radically full of love. It's hard not to look and see the things going on, not to speak of the things that are going on. Yes, I love law of assumption and law of attraction. I love, the quantum healing. I love meditation, and I love entrepreneurship and business, and I love doing things that can help us grow. But sometimes somebody has to stand up. Somebody has to officially say certain things for the community that says yes, because we hear God invoked in politics. We hear it invoked in court decisions, and God is used and invoked every time somebody wants to control somebody else. You always hear people say God is like the only way and it's on our side, and real Christians vote this way or they like this. And this is what's permeating throughout the internet, and this is permeating throughout life, and it's nothing really new per se. It's just amplified. But also, you get to hear messages like this amplified, because the whole entire culture is dressing up as theology. Anybody gets to do that. Yet while all of the noise is happening, there are millions of people right now quietly at home sitting thinking, what do I actually believe? What do I believe about God? Who is Jesus, or what is this outside of what I was told? Why does my heart feel different from the fear-based belief I was handed. So for the people that are in between, and for the people that you may talk to, or for anyone that's out there, this is just kind of a synopsis, or more of a synopsis of just something just to think about. And sometimes it's for myself, because it's hard, because sometimes the way people act, they make you want to throw away all of it. They'll make you want to throw away all of it. Not that you want to become an atheist, but you're just on enough to say there's something about the story I was given that doesn't fit anymore. If that's you, say I feel you. Put that in the comments. I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. Bishop, when he wrote that book, just the title of alone was enough to ruffle feathers. How dare you basically come against religion? Or how dare you not allow people to be in their sectors and be in their groups? And some of those people don't even feel that. A lot of Hindu and Buddhists, they don't necessarily feel the same way the Abrahamic faiths feel. But really, a lot of it has to do with the fact that he was not necessarily Christians. He wasn't saying that Christians are bad. He wasn't saying Jesus was fake. And he wasn't saying all religions are the same. I will tell you, he wasn't saying that. He was just saying that we turn God into a mascot, a tribal mascot. We make God smaller than the universe. We make God smaller than love and smaller than our own hearts by insisting that God is owned by one group. Make it make sense. I believe when he said God is not a Christian, he wasn't interrupting the idea that Christianity has some exclusive trademark. That's what we want to feel. That's what we have been told. And that's what we, for some reason, want to believe, is that we have an exclusive trademark. And if you believe that, so be it. Why is it that you don't allow people to live their journey, to go on their journey? Why is it that you don't allow people to connect where they connect? Because you actually do, unless you want to go get up in the plane. There's 8 billion people in the world, and you're reaching 2 with your message. Honestly, the 2.5 billion, and then you want to just conquer everything. That's colonizer. That's a colonizer mentality. That's what that is. They say that God is love. And if God is the source of existence, if God is really omnipresent, then God has to be present also in a mosque or a temple or a synagogue, in the forest or in the club or in the living room. It has to be in people whoever said the sinner's prayer, and people who do not even use the word God. Sometimes it's uncomfortable just because of the fact that what has taken place. Science has proven, but it can have its own dogma. It doesn't, certain science doesn't deal with physics, metaphysics, and the unknown really well. because we have to know it's another form of ego. Most people say you're not talking about the same God. You're not talking about the same thing. Then they pass off Jesus, but don't realize they're passing off their ideas and their ideologies. I'm in contemplation and taking inventory of my own life. See, there's no official version of all this that is right. So I'm openly declaring or saying that I know that I'm not all right. I live and learn. I live and learn. There's no official version of Jesus. So let's go right to the heart. And that is, if there's no official version, see what happens if I say that. I guarantee you it can mess with your nervous system in the sense where it's like, this has been locked in for a long time. And this is the only way I've always known. With all the stories, all the images, and all the projections, you know, the gentle white man in the paintings in your grandma, and it's funny growing up black. When you seen a black Jesus picture, it was a parody. It was almost like it felt like black people were making Jesus black growing up, not knowing that Jesus was you read it, hair of wool, dark, right? And there, every once in a while you would go and you would see a black Jesus in a black church. And a lot of the times that was related to suffering and liberation too. Then you got the one that's the version that's got the guns and flags. That's a wild one, isn't it? And we can't forget prosperity, Jesus. You know, upgrade, the lifestyle, overflow. I believe that was Michael Todd did overflow. I think they've done some beautiful things in regards to doing their thing. But even the prosperity Jesus that comes from Oral Roberts, that was word of faith. Even that's a version. That's a specialized version of what a lot of people want. They desire, especially in a capitalistic world. I'm not here to tell you that they're wrong. I'm not going. I'm past that part in my life. I'm just past that part. No shame, no shade. I'm not better. I just know that we've been doing this for a long time. And now is the time that we need to awaken. And if you don't awaken, then we're going to keep living in this hell with things like white supremacy, you know, what the KKK established and before, but as an organization to literally terrorize their ideas and their understandings of what they desire and want using their version of their Jesus. And these people out here are going to use their version of Jesus and weaponize it against people. Period. There's no if, no and, no buts. This is not a political statement. People may feel it's political, but I'm here to tell you, like, you can use that to weaponize against people, and it has nothing necessarily to do with it has nothing to do with the story besides what they want to adapt and adopt and say, hey, this is what we all have. Everybody put all their money in. That creates power. That creates structure. That creates entity. What's funny is like, historical Jesus of the scholars and historians debated. That's one of the reasons why you have the King James. All of it's filtered also by culture and race and economics, trauma and power. Culture, race, economics, trauma, and power. I'm going to say it again. Culture, race, economics, trauma, and power. It's almost, you can spell that out. CERTP. Culture, race, economics, trauma, and power. That's the kind of the foundation. Councils, creeds, books that were left out, things that were added, people debating, fighting, killing each other. That has been happening. And it has its own remnants today. There's always a prophet, and there's always somebody that's official, somebody that's certified. Usually, whenever a person's certified, everyone is deceived, right? But I'm here to tell you, you're choosing the version, you're choosing your community and version, and a lot of that is linked to trauma. And now is the time that we learn to let go. We learn to allow. We learn to connect to our higher selves. The main problem is we don't know that we're choosing, but we are choosing. But the moment that we can admit that there's no official version, the moment that we commit to ourselves and start asking better questions, and we start talking about love, we start talking about justice, and we start talking about inner freedom. Because my thing is, if it's more fearful, if it's more hateful, if it's arrogant, if it's controlling, that is not Christ within. That is not Christ consciousness. See, consciousness, we struggle with understanding it. Consciousness is not a thought. Consciousness is fundamental. It just is. We think. We do. We use consciousness to do so. Right? And sometimes we can't be as connected to levels of consciousness, and we're drones, DRONE. A drone, NPC. Just I'm running the program, doing what I'm supposed to do, making sure I do everything that I'm told, because I don't want to ruffle nobody's feathers. I don't want to live no part of my life. I just want to make do and make best, go to work and do what everybody else tells me to do. I'm here to tell you that you will not regret that life, maybe, until you leave here, and you might realize once you're gone, why I was there, and I was to do something. They say that life is God experiencing, or the universe experiencing itself. Hard concept, isn't it? See, people fights hard for an official version. But to be honest, certainty feels safer than consciousness. Then talking about that, see, when you start talking about consciousness, and then you start talking about even mysticism, the certainty of this. What are y'all thinking? What are y'all feeling? Hopefully you're feeling and you're connecting to some of this. Bishop Carlton poked a system of power, poked a system of theology, when he said God is bigger than your hell, bigger than your church, bigger than your religion. And that's why they labeled him a heretic. Certain groups use their power and use their money to post it in magazines and to do their thing, because it's about control. It really comes down to more money than anything. Because if it doesn't bring money, and if it doesn't have any level of control or power over people, do you really think that it's going to be as successful? It could do it doing the right thing. But there's something about using threat, and when fear is natural for human beings, when fear is a natural thing, it's kind of like we lean into fear. So why not target their fear? I guarantee you, if you looked at a message that was preached on a given Sunday throughout 100 churches, and every church gave a message of end times, God's coming back, do the right thing, give, and God's going to do this or do that. If you said all the right things, and then you took another church, you took the same church, and other Sundays you said God is love, and you begin to talk about those things that are natural, your offerings will go down. You will make less money on the days that you don't talk about the fear of God. Crazy, huh? Crazy. One thing people don't know is Carlton, I was more of a mystic and I was a philosopher around him. We asked various questions, and I didn't get deep into scripture. But he never stopped loving Jesus and the ideal of that. But he refused to keep Jesus chained to fear. He refused. Let's sum this up, and let's look at how we would look at God dwelling with us, in us, around us, and as us. What if we can flip all of this pain, the criticism, the fear, guilt, and shame? What if we can flip that to vision? What if we can say, if God is not a Christian and is not confined to one religion, how does it show up? How does it show up? If it dwells in us, that means that you are not abandoned and you're not chasing something that only shows up on Sunday or during the revival weekend. See, the presence of this energy, whether you're driving to work, you're cooking dinner, sitting in traffic, singing or crying in the shower, take a breath and feel and connect to the presence. All is well. All is well. Sometimes you can have certain things going through you and you don't know it, and it's there. Right? It's there. I know. And this is the stuff that gets a lot of religious people nervous. When you say that God lives in you, the inner life, I mean, it's in passages in scripture. See, we don't talk about intuition, but your intuition matters. Your confidence, your consciousness matters. Your body matters. You matter. Holy. All of you matters. You are a part of the system, or you're a part of the godness. Even your enemies are still a part of the godness. Even people that are working against us are against humanity are part of the godness. The people that are working against it, I think, realize their own true power within themselves and it than the people that believe. It's the reason why they can take over countries. You can say it's a negative force. You could say it's evil. You could say it's the devil and give it more power than you give. Ego is ego, and ego can lead to people being evil. Ego is part of life, but if it gets the best of you, it's no different than a person getting addicted to some drug. But they still can use power of their divineness of who they believe they are. I'm here to tell you straight up, Donald Trump is uber confident, silly confident, delusional. You can't be a person like him saying what he's saying, doing what he's doing, and knowing that he knows how to get Riley up and get a group of individual people to believe in him. Don't get mad. I think we regardless of what I think, evidently we need some of this. Evidently, some of this is kind of like a boil. You know, it's kind of like that assist that you have. I got an assist on my back. It's kind of like an assist that you have. And you might need to get that sucker eventually cut out. It's just going to grow and just stay there. And we got some things that have been bubbling and here in America. And yeah, we made a lot of various enhancements or various accomplishments in who we are as a people, but we got a lot of work to do. And you're witnessing and seeing that work. within our institutions and within our systems. We better learn how to choose and go within. We have to learn how to have each individual person question what they believe and why they believe it. Question how do those beliefs add to or subtract to the quality of life. You have to begin to get into a frame of reference that allows you to have personal spiritual autonomy. If you don't begin to understand your true power, the power that you do have is going to be stolen or taken away from you. And those individual people that realize it and understand it, whether they're for you or against you, they're going to use that power. This has been happening. This has been going on. It's going to continue to go on if you don't get your ass up and start thinking. If you don't begin to understand that all of these stories that have been told and all these things that we have listened to, all these things that have been pushed on us about belief, you better wake up and realize and understand one thing, and one thing for sure, that you are a powerful individual and you can do so much more. And I don't care if you are 15 or 85. I don't care. You have a job to do. And that is for you to get to know you and you to learn to love you. You to have to understand that every single person that claims that they're a Christian claims their own Jesus. Period. You are deciding to make that decision. Somebody is like convincing you or telling you. And then you join that group. You join that community. Because ultimately we know that we need some level of community. That's why we are here. Don't take this as a warning. Don't take this as any fear. I want you to see this as an opportunity. I want you to see this as a clear opportunity that you have to have your own spiritual autonomy. You get to have your own autonomy. And you don't have to let nobody tell you different or nobody trick you. There's some things that we can do. There's some things that we can do that is working against us or not work best in our favor. And somebody can actually tell you like, hey, as a friend, I believe you should follow Jesus, and I believe you should follow Jesus, and you should believe in the return of Jesus, and you should believe in hell, and you should believe all these things. As a friend, I just really want you to believe that. That's fine. But do they want to give you and empower you and allow you to say, you know what? I appreciate you for how you feel. I appreciate that you have a personal conviction that you must tell me this. But I'm here to let you know that I also have been given the same mind. I've been given a mind, but I understand about one thing about my mind. I understand that I have been given a mind that I understand that God would be within us, around us, as us. That's the reason why you have the Silicon Bros. You have all these people that are building mass amounts of wealth on your ignorance, on our government's decision to make corporations what they do, right? Using this same scriptures and all that stuff. And they don't even have to believe anything you believe, but you have to get your butt up and go out there and work for these individual people, right? But you have this all-powerful knowing God that's having you still sit here and suffer. Make it make sense. Do what you do. You do what you do. You have to people have to realize that we are all on a journey of life. And we all get the opportunity. I see this more as an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity. And the opportunity is that I get to know God, source, universe. I get to have that relationship for myself. I get to read a book. The Biology of Belief. I can read this book and I can get out what I get out of it. And yet it's not a Bible. This could be more helpful for you than the Bible. Yeah. That could just be a book of stories and there's some great wisdom, but I can come in here and this can tell you, you might want to stop doing XYZ. Ain't nobody reading the Bible in medical school. They might be reading it as a supplemental something to help them feel good. But when it comes down to it, they didn't have just the Bible before they just was like going to go to learn to do surgery. Oh, I'll just depend on the Lord. I'm gonna cut you open, but God taught me how to do it. That's stupid. It's time that we awaken and we realize and understand that we have spiritual autonomy. We have to open up and understand that you carry the image and the likeness of the divine in your actual being. Jesus said it himself, the kingdom of God is within you. It had nothing to do with the building, nothing to do with the pulpit, nothing to do with the person from the pulpit. It dwells around us, and this could be a little bit mystical. But wouldn't you say ecology? Wouldn't you say it's in the trees in the ocean? Would you say it's in the stars? That's part of the quantum field. The connections between us, all of us. See, some people experience it. Biology, really. This guy here, I guarantee you, is a spiritual person. And this guy experienced God through science. Right? This guy did. This is a powerful book. And this Biology of Belief is about how our beliefs, epigenetics, our beliefs and what we believe can change in real time. Our DNA, right? Epigenetics. We can begin to change the genes. That is, if there's not, that's more godlike. The fact that you tell me I can change my genes, I can meditate and I can begin to focus on healing myself. That's what this is stating, right? I don't need a specialty prayer or anything like that. I just would have to make a decision and I would have to know, not even believe. I know that I know. Got some notes here talking about showing compassion and how God shows compassion through us. When we forgive, it is God forgiving through us. When we stand for justice, God is standing for justice through you. See, it's not ego. Ego can be a part, but it's the embodiment. Understanding Christ consciousness is transcending worshiping Jesus, it was like worshiping the history of what you've been told, but the live lived experience and transcendence of love, being able to have autonomy, being able to not be forced to believe what you believe. I need to schedule. Hopefully I'll be able to schedule my insight timer for tomorrow. I know some people are going to be looking forward that I got a lot of people. Take a breath. And let's take a quick moment to listen to something starting now.
My wife and children, to all the parishioners that I've served over the years, thousands of them, those through media that I've ministered to. So Constantine he literally invented institutional Christianity, later called the Holy Roman Empire. Okay? Now, the organic or spiritual followers, as opposed to the organized religious followers of Jesus, were originally called people of the way. That's recorded in Acts 24:14. They were not called Christians. They were called people of the way. There are several references in Scripture to the way. And it's a reference to a whole movement in first century Israel, and then it spread throughout the world. Christianity Incorporated, the institution, was created by Constantine, who was a shrewd, crude, but brilliant politician who didn't originally convert and may really never have converted to Christianity, as some claim, but wisely tolerated and facilitated its growing presence throughout his empire. History actually says that he may have been baptized on his deathbed, but he trumped something up, and he was very smart. They were sun worshipers. The Romans were sun worshipers. They worshiped Venus, the sex goddess. That's where we get the word venerable or venereal from the term Venus. You could say the venerable bishop or the venereal bishop, and both terms would be respectful references to the priest, because sexual orgies, there were temple priests and priestesses who did sexual acts as a form of worship to God. I think I mentioned this on one of the other lectures. They believed that life originated in genitalia rather than genesis, human genetics. They saw the human genetic evolution. We talk about regeneration, that's regening, or we get the word genuine or generate, inspire, initiate, genesis, originate, start, life. So it was a form of religion. All the references to sexuality regarding Rome in the book of Rome, that's not a direct reference to homosexuality in itself or lesbianism in Romans chapter 1. It's a reference to the idolatry associated with Roman religions, and it was during the Roman Empire that Christianity grew. Jerusalem was an occupied city. The Roman government was in the days of Jesus, first century Christianity. So you're not going to hear this from the average pulpit, but it's true. So there's an amalgamation here. Christianity developed around Roman mentalities and Greek, because there's been 7 world empires, 6 officially. The 7th would be the Roman Empire, the Catholic Church, really. You have Egypt, then you have Assyria, then you have Babylon, then you have Greece, then you have Rome, which is Latin. And then you have, some people believe, papal Rome, or possibly, if you want to be really imaginary, the United States, in the Western world. It's a civilization. But there have been these 6 basic ones. Christianity came along during the Roman Empire, and the Roman Caesars, and the Roman Pilate, and all that. So that's a whole nother lesson in history. But anyway, Christianity Incorporated, the institution was created by Constantine, who was this politician. According to Scripture, The people of the way were first called Christians at Antioch, Acts 11:26. They were not called Christians by Christians. They were not called Christians by necessarily spiritual people. Being called a Christian was being called a cult in those days. They were considered a cult group of renegade Jews who worshiped and executed idol named Jesus, whom they claimed had risen from the dead. And they were severely persecuted, but grew nonetheless. They were just a little maverick group, branch off of Judaism, and they worshiped a Jew named Jesus, Yeshua, like Joshua in Hebrew, Kiseas or Shia. Salvation is of Jehovah, or Jehovah is of salvation, salve, healing. And so they created this image based on interpretations of Scripture. Constantine sought to gain control of the rapidly growing and almost out of control movement by organizing it to his political benefit and avoid splintering his empire. I posted this today and I want to talk about it again tonight. He did this by calling together, listen to this place, the Ecumenical Council of Nicaea. They met in Nicaea, and it was about 300 of the world's leading philosophers, some bishops who were mostly Greeks, mathematicians, some of the greatest minds of the time. They weren't just spiritual people, they were scientists and philosophers and linguists or scholars and religionists. He called these folk together, and at this council and through it, Constantine literally created Christianity, not Christ, not the people of the way, not the spiritual church, but the institutional and organized church, mixing into it pagan worshiping practices of the Roman religions and other religions, because he wanted to build some kind of one world religion. And he was quite successful at it. He was a wise man. So he mixed into it certain pagan worshiping practices, including sun worship. That's why even today we worship on Sunday. And then there's Moon Day or Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday. All the names of our week, the days, the names of our months, they're all Greek gods or goddesses.
Blessings. I just wanted to play a little bit of something that I was listening to. I will post that so you guys will have that. It was a really cool talk. But I thank you guys. I appreciate you for coming and being here. A lot of people pass through. We're in the beginning of the month, and I'm in contemplation of how to move forward. How do I move forward? I know and I feel some change happening. Not that I'm going to stop by no means, but what is it becoming? What is it leaning towards? What's going on? And I think there's some things that are here. I feel sometimes you not necessarily running from doing a organization, spiritual community, church, if you will, but it's spiritual community that's more organized, in a way that allows people to join and be within the community. I have that, but looking at just how to and what to, and just to be in the timing, be in the space, be in the right space, right? But one thing I do know is speaking up and speaking forward for people like you and me, and people that are ready to do something different and know that they love them, love God, if you will, learning to love themselves. But here we are. Here we are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for connecting and being a part of this. From Miss Holly, hey, thank you. We got Mr. Beverly. Yes, appreciate you. Oh my God. I got Celeste was here. Miss Dorothy Inez. Brother Donald Clapp. Thank you, sir. Miss Gilbert, thank you. Miss Marie, thank you, Miss Marie. Miss Velma, Miss Claudette, Mr. Don Jackson, thank you, sir. And of course, we had Lynn and Mother Gwen, Miss Dolores. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Headed towards this and now making some decision on how I want to shape it. And, I'm all ears too. If you have any ideas on what you get out of this, if you have any ideas of what you want to hear and listen to, I'm curious how many people, to be honest, how many people like how churches are formatted, not fully, but how many people are still believers or still Christian, if you will, maybe a different kind of Christian. I'm curious I'm just curious. I still plan on having a retreat. 10 people maybe here in Tulsa in March. I'll get the dates are it would be the 26th to the 29th or something like that. 27th through the 29th. I'll make sure I call him to get the official number in terms of how much the costs are, but it would include food, shelter, place to stay. It will include meditations and some experiences, some talks and some coaching and some transcendence. If we're not gonna do here and come here and lives be uplifted, changed, then what are we doing? I'm scheduled to be on Insight Timer. It might be this weekend. I'm gonna see if it'll work for tomorrow, but if you haven't downloaded Insight Timer, download Insight Timer. It's a meditation app. And so I will have all the information very soon and most likely have a place for you to fill out the information, most likely in Patreon. Yep, Donald Clapp, he said, I'm not a Christian. That was kind of what I was talking about tonight, is being labeled that. And it's like, do you have to be labeled that? You could still like the life of Christ. You could still connect. But it's like, why do we have to be labeled that? It's like, isn't it time that we start being like, versus then trying to be labeled towards what was historical, All right. I love you guys. I have to do this for sure. That's Cash App. I appreciate it. I'll let you know as you give in Cash App. I'll let you know whenever I'm actually making it. So then that way you'll know, you'll be like, okay, he's made it, so he don't need anything. But I'm here to tell you that you give out of your heart. And some give in the Patreon. But you give out of your heart. Don't give out of guilt or shame. Don't give out of my needs or give out of my desires. I'm already living in the divine. I'm bringing forth what's coming to me, and no one can outgive what is already in order. The ideas that you can get, right? I don't want to be a space or ministry or anything with those titles that have to depend solely on people giving. I can have my own ideas. I can have my own thing that goes on that people are willing to pay for, from retreats to books to things that we can use that help you. Anyways, that's the Cash App. I appreciate you. I'm still, at the moment though, this is part to help me do what I'm doing. Pay for my StreamYard. StreamYard is not cheap. It's $600 a year, I think, something like that. But it's part of it. It's part of it. There's the Patreon. There's the Venmo. We are at about 54 in Patreon. I'm going to post and do some stuff, more stuff in there. I'm trying to get it together so we can have this guest next week. So I'm going to be back 8:30 next week for sure. So you guys make sure you put it on your calendars that we come back. Next Thursday. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be beautiful and it's going to be fun. Make sure you download Insight Timer. And I'm about to get to work. I have a client meeting in the morning. So that we can keep it moving. We can keep it moving. The joy and the joy of living. Pay bills. It's part of it. I'm going to try to enjoy it. Woo! Love you guys. And have a wonderful and beautiful evening. Download Insight Timer so you can see me. I'll be either there tomorrow or this weekend. All right. Bye.
If it's Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, or Mohammed, just know, my friend, God is within. No matter the name, no matter the faith, God is within, moving through grace. Born from a world of love, no shame. We all feel it when we hear our name. Our name is love, our name is peace. Serenity in what we believe. my name, I will not fear. Love is the answer, it's always near. No power to blame, no guilt, no shame. Just let love flow and break the chain. Told what to believe, yet deep inside we know God is love, no matter where we go. Oh, let me take this moment, no fear, no shame, to stand in love and release the blame. Release the blame. Release the blame. Yeah. Choosing the path we must embrace. The love is the answer, for heaven's sake. Can we let go and let love flow? And the hate release the pain. Deep inside, we're all the same. Oh, this is where we choose our fate. Blindly accepting love not the same. But you have a chance to go